Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome again in today's video. So, in today's video, inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to discuss a new field which is called psychology, or can I say specifically medical psychology, in which I'm going to describe a hypothesis that is developed bifadlillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala by me, and it is more related to the psychological treatments that we rely on so as to heal a person who is suffering from a disorder in his mind, or I can say mental illness. Specifically, those people are suffering from bipolar disorder and sometimes schizophrenia and so on and so forth. So in today's video also I'm going just to describe to you the mechanisms and the principles of this theory. Of course, sometimes that should be also known to you so as to understand this hypothesis. And I'm still trying, bifadlillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make the ground of this hypothesis and to test it, if you want to say, because theories are theories and hypotheses are hypotheses. So we need, first of all, to see if this medicine will work for those people or not. But in today's video, I'm just going to share with you the principles and the theoretical background. So before moving to the introduction and delve into it, I just want to give you a difference between placebo medicine and lithium medicine. And sometimes we call it lithium carbonate, or I can say lithium salt. So here, the word placebo, it's a very old name. It's a very old medicine and technique used by a lot of scholars in the medical aspects. And one of the people who were use this concept is Ben Sina in his book The Law of Medicine. So the word placebo, it's like a medicine or a procedure. So pay attention to the word procedure, prescribed for the psychological benefit to the patient rather than for any psychological effect. So what is important from this theory, or you can say hypothesis, is to heal and to get the people who are suffering from bipolar disorder and schizophrenia and people who have mood swings and so on and so forth, to make them believe that they are going to be healed. And at the same time, we want no effect, because we are going to see that the difference between lithium and placebo, the most important point is no effect. And when I say effect, I'm talking about the effects, or you can say the impacts that you are going to suffer from when you are going to take the lithium salt, or you can say lithium pills, and so on and so forth. So as I've stated before, it's more related to the psychological treatments that need no, if I want to say that needs no concrete medicine, if you want to say. So, ala barakatillah. So, as you can see from the title, from lithium salt to air, specifically a new placebo medicine, medical psychology. So, the introduction here, as you can see, while chemical treatments play a vital role in stabilizing the moods of individuals with bipolar disorder, it is important not to solely rely on them to address the issue. Dependence on the chemical interventions can sometimes lead to unintended complications. Take lithium salts as an example. They can affect various aspects for the well-being of bipolar patients. So here we can understand that instead of relying on chemical treatments that are very important and very good in stabilizing the moods of people who are suffering from these mental disorders and mood switching and so on and so forth, instead of relying on it and putting a lot of money and so on and so forth, and you are going to have some impacts when you are going to drink these medicines and take the pills and so on and so forth, instead of relying all on these aspects, we can rely on something which is called the placebo, or relying on something called the NMIP, which is called natural medical air placebo. That's why in this presentation, I will not delve into the downsides of lithium salts, because chemical treatments in general can have adverse effects on both the psychological and physical well-being of individuals. As we know, that if you go to a psychologist, he's not going to give you just the pills and you are going to find yourself a hero. But pay attention, please. You are going to be held and your mood is going to be stabilized, but at the same time, you have some effects and impacts on your body that are going to be obvious and so on and so forth. And sometimes you are going to have some, if you want to say, downsides of that medicine, specifically lithium salt. Instead, I would like to introduce a natural alternative treatment that offers a simpler and less burdensome approach of bipolar patients, steering clear of the negative effects associated with chemical interventions. This alternative, known as natural medical air placebo or NMAP, which is completely natural remedy. So here we can understand from the introduction that instead of relying on chemical treatments, we can rely on placebo, which is very important and it is very useful because what is important is to not to have the down, or you can say the downsides. Okay, so moving to the next slide. So what is lithium carbonate? Of course, we need to know these terms. So as you can see here in the pictures, this is the medicine. You can find it in many pharmacies and so on and so forth. You are going to find this one. And it is very difficult to get this one because it is like a drug. So what is lithium carbonate, or you can say sometimes lithium salt? So here, before giving you the definition, I want you please to pay attention to we can say to this chemical equation, or you can say the chemical aspects related to the periodical table. So we have Li2CO3. So this is a code that is relied on in chemical aspects so as to develop this lithium carbonate. Of course, there are carbon, oxygen, and so on and so forth. So lithium carbonate is a medication primarily used to treat bipolar disorder, a mental health condition characterized by extreme mood swings that include emotional highs like mania, and or also we call it sometimes hypomania. So both of them are two sides of the you can say the mental illness, which is called I can say the psychological disorder, which is called bipolar disorder. And as I've stated before, it's characterized by extreme mood swings. So sometimes you find the person is happy, and sometimes he's very sad and he's depressed. So it helps us to stabilize the mood by modifying the levels of certain neurotransmitters in the brain. Additionally, lithium carbonate may also be prescribed for certain other psychiatric conditions and as a preventive treatment for you can say from recurrent depression. So as I have stated before, and what is important here is that the lithium carbonate as a medicine help us to stabilize the mood of bipolar patients and to make them good. But please pay attention, it has some downsides that make the bipolar patients suffer from, like obesity and so on and so forth. So this is what we call lithium carbonate. Now let's move and discuss the term that is developed by me, bifadlillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is called the natural medical air placebo, NMAP. So, as I have stated before, my goal is not only to rely on the chemical treatments. I need something that is natural, and as we know, that all the chemical aspects come from nature, like, for example, snakes, like plants, and so on and so forth. So why we don't rely on the plants themselves and so on and so forth? So from chemical to natural treatment. In this part, I will refer to a shift or transition from using chemical-based treatments to utilizing natural approach for addressing a particular issue or condition. In this context, this shifting refers to the idea of moving away from solely relying on I can say pharmacy aspects, or I can say medications, which are often chemical compounds, to exploring and incorporating natural remedies or therapies for the treatment of bipolar disorder. The aim here is to discuss alternatives that had no potential side effects and drawbacks associated with chemical treatments. This transition acknowledges that while chemical treatments can be effective, there is also a desire to consider more holistic and natural options to manage health conditions. As a result, and this is very important, we will tackle the components of lithium carbonate and the components of NMIP. And of course, these will be considered by relying on the chemical equations using some mathematical descriptions so as to see the results of both of them. Moving to the next slide. So here, let's see the chemical treatments components. The first one, which is called lithium. Lithium is alkali metal element that forms the foundation of lithium carbonate. It plays a crucial role in the mood stabilizing properties of lithium medications. As you can see, this is the description of the lithium. And as I've stated before, it's one of the components of the periodical table. And we have also carbon. Carbon is a non-metal element that is an essential part of the carbonate in lithium carbonate. That carbonate ion uh, contributes to the overall structure and properties of the salt. Now I am describing to you what are the components of the medicine lithium carbonate. Next, we have oxygen. Is a non-metal element, metal element that in this context of lithium carbonate forms the carbonate ion all along with carbon. It contributes to the molecular structure and chemical properties of the compound. And please pay attention to the moles here because they are very important in this medicine. So the mathematical description of lithium carbonate. Lithium carbonate's chemical formula, Li2CO3, gives a qualitative description of its composition, indicating that it is made up of two lithium, Li, which is atoms, one carbon atom, and three oxygen atoms. However, you may express the molar mass of lithium carbonate in mathematical terms, which quantifies the mass of 1 mole of the chemical. And the calculation systematically is atomic masses. Here, atomic mass of lithium equals, or you can say approximately equals 6.94 gram, or you can say mole. Atomic mass of carbon, we have 12.01 mole. And at the same time, we have the mass, or I can say the atomic mass of oxygen, we have 16.00 mole. So here, if we do the calculation, or I can say the formula of lithium carbonate as a medicine, we will find that it contains two lithium atoms, one carbon atom, and three oxygen atoms, meaning that to find the molar mass of lithium carbonate, we add up the individual atomic masses of the elements present, considering the number of atoms indicated by the subscripts in the formula. How can we understand this? So the molar mass of lithium carbonate, which is Li2CO3, equals 2 atomic mass of lithium plus atomic mass of carbonate and plus 3 mass of oxygen aspects. Substituting the atomic masses, we will find that we have 2 6.94 mole plus 12.01 mole plus 16.316 mole equals 13.88 mole plus 12.01 mole plus 48 mole. Adding these values, we have 73.89 mole, which is, as a result, the molar mass of lithium carbonate, which is approximately 73.89 grams per mole. So here I give you the description of the medicine that you find in pharmacies, and they help people to get their mood stabilized as medicine. And as I have stated before, and I give you the description of the medicine, which is here. Let's cycle back. So this is the medicine. This is the description, or you can say the chemical equations of the creation of the carbonate, or you can say lithium carbonate. Now, let's move and discuss the treatment natural medical air placebo and see the components. And at the end, we want to see if there is a combination, or you can say, is there any same result for both medical aspects. Moving forward, it is important to recognize that the chemical makeup of lithium carbonate, composed of lithium carbon and oxygen, is rooted in natural elements. So from where we bring these aspects and we make a medicine for people? From plants, from natural elements. So why we don't rely on the natural elements and move on and make it as a medicine with no side effect? However, what raises questions is why the scientific and medical communities tend to utilize these elements in their chemical forms when they naturally exist in the air. So sometimes you can find these elements just in the air that we are breathing and so on and so forth. This perspective prompts consideration about the potential to harness these natural elements from the air, avoiding the associated chemical impacts. And to delve deeper, a core constituent of the atmosphere is oxygen, O0, an element that sustains us daily. Interestingly, the quality of the air varies over time. For example, the air we breathe during work hours contrast with the air during the profound stillness of the nighttime or dawn. Here we can understand that there are two airs. We have a pure air and we have a dirty air. How can we understand this? So the pure air you will find it just at dawn time. When you go, for example, to pray al-fajr, you will find that the air is very fresh. But if you find the air which is at 12 o'clock and so on, so you'll find that the air is not good. This is particularly evident during dawn, where at the discernible shift in air quality transpires, setting it apart from the daytime atmosphere. It's worth noting that certain plants release volatile organic compounds, and we call it VOCZ, and this is a type of plants during the nighttime, which can influence the overall quality of the air. In essence, there is a call to reflection upon the utilization of naturally occurring elements from the air itself, potentially offering an alternative approach that sidesteps the chemical repercussions, of course, particularly for conditions like bipolar disorder. In addition, volatile organic compounds, VOCs, do contain carbon. That is very important. So here we can understand that instead of relying on the plants and the aspects and we make them as chemical aspects to help people, we can rely on these compounds, on these components like the air, fresh air at dawn, and at the same time the VOCs, plants, so as to create and to make the mood stabilized and so on and so forth. Of course, the term organic in VOCs refers to the presence of carbon atoms in their molecular structure. Organic compounds are compounds that contain carbon hydrogen, which is a very important component in lithium, CH, bonds, and they can include other elements like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and more. Since VOCs are a subset of organic compounds, they inherently contain carbon atoms. Starting here, it becomes evident that the effectiveness of TCO3 as a chemical treatment closely revolves that of La2CO0. O3. Even in the absence of lithium as a standalone element, this is due to its potential impact on human beings, particularly when applied for medical or therapeutic intentions. Here we can understand that instead of relying on the chemical components that we have seen in the lithium salt, and they are very chemical and they have side effects, we can rely on the VOCs plants. And these VOCs plants, they contain carbon, which is a very important component in the lithium salt. We have hydrogen, we have also oxygen, and some elements like nitrogen and sulfur, which are very important for making the mood stabilized for bipolar disorder. Now let's talk about the calculation in a mathematical description. So, as I have stated before, the atomic masses we have carbon that is approximately equals 12.01 mole, and we have oxygen which is 16 mole. Formula of lithium carbonate. The chemical formula of NMIP is 2CO0. When I say 2C, which means carbon and also oxygen and so on and so forth. This means it contains two carbon atom and three oxygen atoms. So please pay attention. In this placebo, we don't have something called lithium. We just have the natural elements that are very important like carbon and oxygen. Calculating the molar mass and see the result. So to find the molar mass of NMIP, we add up the individual atomic masses of the elements present, considering the number of atoms indicated by the subscripts in the formula. And as we have seen there, molar mass of NMIP 2CO3, we have 2 atomic masses of carbons plus 3 atomic masses of oxygen. Substituting the atomic, we will have 2 12 and we have 316 of moles equals 24 mole plus 48 mole. And the result, of course, bifadlillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, is approximately 72.02 grams per mole. What is important here is that we have the same approximately result of the medical aspects that is more related to chemical properties, and we have also the same result in the placebo that is developed. In conclusion, in comparing the molar mass of lithium carbonate and NMIP placebo, we observe that while both compounds contain the carbonate ion CO3, they differ in terms of their other constituent elements. For lithium carbonate La2CO3, the molar mass is approximately 73 plus 89 mole, we can say gram mole per mole. This compound consists of lithium, Li, and carbonate and oxygen atoms as we have seen before. The molar mass calculation considers the presence of two lithium atoms, one carbon atom, and three oxygen atoms in each molecule of lithium carbonate. On the other hand, for an MiP2CO3, the molar mass is approximately 72 plus 0.2. Please pay attention. Notice the result we have in the medical chemical aspect. We have 73.89 gram per mole and as a medicine, and we have placebo, which is not a medicine, 72 plus 0.2 gram mole. And MIP stands for the natural medical placebo, as we have stated before, and its chemical composition includes two carbon atoms and three oxygen atoms in each molecule. The difference in molar masses reflects the distinct atomic composition of these compounds. While lithium carbonate is a known chemical compound used for various purposes, and MIP appears to be a hypothetical, pay attention please, it is just a hypothesis, compound with a specific formula 2CO0 associated with the concept of a natural medical aid placebo. So, in conclusion, I can see that instead of relying on the chemical aspects, we can rely on natural placebo aspects. And here I prove it, بفضل subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have the same result, 73.89 per mole and 72.02 gram per mole. Both of them, they have approximately the same chemical equation result. One is natural and one is chemical. Thank you so much for listening to me and see you then, inshallah.